One of the biggest mysteries in Peppa Pig revolves around Mommy Pig's family and her mysterious sister, Dottie. But what if this aunt, who is barely ever mentioned, is much more than just a distant relative? What if she is actually Mommy Pig's evil twin? Crime. If you think Aunt Dottie's absence is just a personal choice, you might want to reconsider. There is speculation that she did something terrible in the past, something so serious that she was expelled from the family and exiled to another country. And there's strong evidence that Aunt Dottie may not have the best intentions toward Peppa and George. Do you remember the gift she sent them? That's right, a wheeled toy. Seems harmless, right? But let's think about it more carefully. Peppa's town is full of steep hills and sudden drops. Now, imagine a small child using a wheeled toy on those slopes. We've already seen what happened to Daddy Pig when he tried to play with the wooden horse. He lost control and fell into a mud puddle so deep it covered almost his entire body. Now think about George, who is much smaller. If it were him, he could have even drowned. The question is, Aunt Dottie knew this. She grew up in the same town and is fully aware of the risks. And yet, she still sent a dangerous toy to her nephews. Why? Could it be that the crime that got Aunt Dottie kicked out of the family is somehow connected to an attempt to harm Peppa when she was a baby? Or maybe something even worse, against her own sister? That's right. This theory suggests that Aunt Dottie may have a dark past and a deep grudge against the Pig family. Today, we're going to explore the details of this theory and try to uncover this great mystery, a life of seclusion. If you think it's strange that we never see Aunt Dottie in Peppa Pig, know that this is part of the big mystery. She was first mentioned in Season 4. In the episode Glitter Hooves the Horse, the Pig family receives a package that came from a very distant country, which we later find out is the United States. Now, why would an aunt stay so far away from her family? The theory suggests that it wasn't a choice, it was a punishment. Grandpa and Granny Pig may have made this decision to protect Mommy Pig and her children. That could be why some of her belongings might be hidden in that attic full of mysterious boxes. And there's more. In one episode, when Mommy Pig goes up to the attic, she finds a record player playing an old song from the 1960s. Her reaction? She abruptly turns it off, as if she doesn't want to remember that song. But why would a simple song bother her so much? Here's an interesting connection. In the 1960s, polka dot dresses were all the rage, and Dottie literally means covered in dots. Could that song have been something that reminded her of her sister? Maybe a tune that marked a major fight between them? Rivalry. Aunt Dottie has always shown resentment toward her family, especially toward her niece and nephew. And there's clear evidence that she knew Daddy Pig even before her sister ended up marrying him. Let's analyze all of this and figure out where this rivalry really started. Many years ago, when she was still just Dottie, she and Daddy Pig went to school together and quickly became friends. And here's an important detail. Their teacher at the time was Madame Gazelle, who, as we know, has known Mommy Pig and her family for a very long time. Now, an interesting point. Aunt Dottie is older than Mommy Pig, and we know Daddy Pig is also older than his wife. So, it would have been much more natural for him to get close to someone in his own age group. And that's exactly what happened with Dottie. The problem began when their friendship turned into something more intense for Dottie. But everything changed when Daddy Pig started developing feelings for her younger sister. This love triangle inevitably created tension, and the sisters' relationship was permanently damaged. Aunt Dottie was so furious that she tried to convince their parents that her sister's relationship with Daddy Pig was a mistake. However, Grandpa and Granny Pig didn't agree with her behavior and ended up making a drastic decision. They kicked Dottie out of the house while she was still a teenager. If you think this is just a theory, we have two solid pieces of evidence. First piece of evidence. Aunt Dottie doesn't have a British accent. In the original English version of the show, all the characters speak with a typical British accent, except for her. She has a distinctly American tone. This could indicate that she left home early enough to lose her family's accent, since an adult rarely changes their way of speaking completely, but a child can. Second piece of evidence. At Grandpa and Granny Pig's house, there's no mention or reference to another daughter besides Mommy Pig. It's as if Dottie never lived there, or as if her parents erased all evidence of her existence. But, as we've mentioned, maybe all of her belongings are hidden away in the attic. All of this is very suspicious. If you also think it makes total sense for Aunt Dottie to be a suspicious character, comment me down below so we know who you are. The visit. Let's take a closer look at the day Aunt Dottie finally makes an appearance and see how her relationship with the rest of the Pig family is, at the very least, unusual. First, as soon as the phone rings and Mommy Pig answers, she doesn't hide her discomfort. The moment she realizes who's on the other end, she steps back slightly and informs the rest of the family. It's Aunt Dottie. But notice something interesting. She could have said, "It's my dear sister," or something that shows affection. Instead, the neutral and distant way she refers to Aunt Dottie hints that their relationship is anything but close. Another interesting detail is that Aunt Dottie's visit is completely unexpected. If it were a planned visit, the Pig family would have prepared, bought food, and arranged everything to welcome her. But that's not what happens. On the contrary, No one seems happy or excited about her arrival. This could mean that if they had known in advance, they might have found a way to avoid it altogether. And there's one more thing. Aunt Dottie doesn't inform her own parents about the visit. If she had a good relationship with them, she would have given them a heads up for sure. But when Mommy Pig calls Granny Pig to tell her that her sister has arrived, the reaction is far from warm. The photo. In Daddy Pig's birthday, when we see Daddy Pig's workplace, there's a very intriguing detail. An old black and white photo on his desk. Many people assume that this picture shows Peppa and George when they were younger, but the truth is very different. A lot of fans believe that the image actually shows Daddy Pig and Aunt Dottie when they were children. For a long time, there was a theory suggesting that the two were siblings, but it was later revealed that Aunt Dottie is from the other side of the family, which completely changes the meaning of this photo. In reality, this picture proves that Aunt Dottie was closer to Daddy Pig than her own sister, who would later marry him. Still not convinced that the photo shows Aunt Dottie? Here's some evidence. The photo is old and colorless, meaning it was taken long before Peppa and George were born. Also, the little pig's dress in the picture doesn't match anything Peppa has ever worn, but it does resemble Aunt Dottie's style. And the name Dottie itself references the polka dots on her dress since, in English, means spot or. So the big question is, why has Daddy Pig kept this photo on his desk at work? Is it a reminder of an old love? Or a sign of affection for someone he was forced to leave behind? Thanksgiving. Did you know that Thanksgiving is not celebrated in England? And do you know why that's important? Simple. In the episode where Aunt Dottie arrives at her sister's house to celebrate this holiday, Peppa Pig is completely confused and asks what she's talking about. Wouldn't it be very strange for Peppa to be unaware of a holiday that her own country celebrates every year? So something about this doesn't quite add up. Want proof? Let's start with the detail that, at the beginning of the episode, Pig family is planning to go shopping, not expecting visitors or preparing for a big celebration. They weren't expecting anyone. Also, Aunt Dottie isn't a constant presence in their lives, since Peppa and George don't even remember her. And one more thing, when Mommy Pig mentions her sister, she doesn't seem excited at all. The two were close. Mommy Pig would probably say something like, "It's a gift from my sister who lives in the US. I miss her. I wonder what she sent." But that's not what happened. Do you know who would be happy to see you every day? Us. So make sure to subscribe to the channel right now. America. Have you ever noticed that the Pig family travels all around the world, yet they never take a trip to visit Aunt Dottie in the United States? If she were truly a beloved family member, wouldn't that be the perfect moment for a heartfelt reunion? But in none of Peppa Pig's seasons do we ever see the Pig family planning to spend time with her. This could mean that Mommy Pig herself makes a point of keeping her distance from her sister. After all, traveling to another country and not even stopping by to say hi to a close relative is pretty strange, don't you think? Or maybe Aunt Dottie simply doesn't want to see them. That's still up for debate. But one thing's for sure, this family definitely has some unresolved issues. Sisters. Since her first mention in Peppa Pig, Aunt Dottie has sparked a lot of questions among fans. In the episode where she visits, she makes it clear that the last time she remembers Peppa, the little pig was still a newborn, meaning she never even saw George grow up. But even when given a chance to bond with her nephew, she completely ignores the opportunity. And it doesn't stop there. When she arrives from her trip, instead of spending time with her sister and the rest of the family, Aunt Dottie chooses to go shopping with Daddy Pig and Peppa. Plus, here's a detail that most people don't notice. When Aunt Dottie arrives, Mommy Pig goes out of her way to organize a big gathering, inviting the entire family for a special event. The strangest part? This event takes place on a holiday that no one has ever celebrated before. It almost feels like a desperate attempt to repair their relationship and convince everyone that things are just fine. But are they really? Another intriguing point is that during this visit, we discover that Aunt Pig, the wife of Daddy Pig's brother, has known Aunt Dottie for a long time. The implication is pretty clear. They were probably childhood friends. But if that's the case, why has no one ever mentioned Aunt Dottie in 20 years of the show? Could she have been deliberately erased from the family's history? Will we ever see a full confrontation between the Pig sisters, finally revealing the whole truth? If that ever happens, you can be sure we'll be here to break it all down for you. By the way, we've already lined up 2 amazing videos for you to keep enjoying. See you in the next one.